What's going on, y'all? This show's a couple days overdue. I decided to get on here and talk about the state of the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, I'm sure y'all have been paying attention to the news. You know, we no longer have Matt Ryan as our quarterback on this team. We don't have a quarterback. Let's just be real about it. We don't have a quarterback on the roster right now. Well, we have Marcus Mariota. My bad. We have Marcus Mariota, of course, but we traded Matt Ryan on Monday to the Colts. We lost out on the Deshaun Watson race. But before I get into that, we go ahead and show this intro real quick, and then we'll get to talking about it.
Welcome to another episode of All In with Nate. This time we'll be discussing the state of the Atlanta Falcons. Last week, the Atlanta Falcons were in trade rumors to acquire Pro Bowl quarterback Deshaun Watson. Unfortunately, they lost out on Deshaun Watson as he went and received a 5-year, $230 million deal with the Cleveland Browns, and he waived his no-trade clause and is no longer on the market. After that, the Atlanta Falcons were about to do the inevitable, trading the 14-year veteran quarterback Matt Ryan. And on Monday, the Atlanta Falcons traded veteran quarterback Matt Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts for a third-round pick, and they also acquired former number 1 overall pick in Marcus Mariota, who was a starter for 5 seasons in Tennessee. He spent his last 2 years with the Las Vegas Raiders, and he's going to get reunited with former offensive coordinator Arthur Smith in Atlanta. Now we will begin to discuss the impact of the Matt Ryan trade, where the Atlanta Falcons will go from here in regards to the draft, in regards to free agency, and what will this team need to do to rebound from the sudden change of events from the Matt Ryan era to the transition to the rebuild. This is another episode coming up of All In with Nate.
As I discussed, we got rid of Matt Ryan, and this team is totally in a rebuild now. It was a shocker, to be honest with you guys. At this point, hold on, let me go to the comments. Byron, what's going on? He said Matt Ryan is worth a first or second round and not a third. Y'all should have got at least more for his value. I'm going to be honest with you. At this point of last week, when we did not get Deshaun Watson, we lost out right there. That trade was not going to be no more than a second round pick at that point, because you made it clear that you wanted to get rid of Matt Ryan. And of course, him being your franchise quarterback, you wanted to go ahead and move on. You wanted to go ahead and get your guy in the spot that he wanted to be at. Matt Ryan definitely wanted to go to Indianapolis. He said in his interview, I don't know if you guys seen it, that was his destination, which actually fits him well. I like the Matt Ryan addition in Indianapolis. He has Jonathan Taylor, who probably should have won MVP. If that team would have went anywhere in the playoffs, he probably could have won MVP, to be honest. But that's a team with a very good offensive line. Quentin Nelson is one of the best guards in the league. Brady Smith's pretty solid. Yeah, they lost Eric Fisher. They probably can replace it in the draft. They got a pretty good defense. They got a Yannick from the Raiders. They got DeForest Buckner. They got a solid group out there in Indy. He should be in contention to win the AFC South this season. There's no reason why he should underachieve in Indianapolis. They got a good team. But with that being said, again, like I said, we lost leverage the minute we lost out on the Deshaun Watson trade, because at that point, everyone made it clear you're going after another quarterback. You went after another quarterback. So at this point, your franchise guy is going to want out. And I respect the fact that he left the way that he did. He wasn't vocal about it like Baker Mayfield. He didn't go out there saying, I want to request a trade or anything like this. He went ahead and handled it behind closed doors. They informed him, as he stated, they handled it in a professional way, and he got himself to Indianapolis, which it was due to happen at this point, because let's be honest, we're going to have to get off that money at some point. Initially, they were going to restructure the Matt Ryan contract, but they ended up going ahead and moving on from Matt Ryan's contract. Instead of them turning it in, they tried to get a trade partner. So again, they never did commit to that contract. The restructure never happened. The restructure would have happened had he stayed and took that bonus. Unfortunately, they didn't get the Deshaun Watson trade. So at that point, he commanded the market, and getting a third round pick in this draft right here was the best they could do, just to be honest with you guys. So It's unfortunate. I thought the Falcons could have got a little bit more out of that if the circumstances were different. I believe they would have got a little more out of that. But with Matt Ryan being gone, that's definitely going to view a lot as far as freeing up money for 2023. Now, let me show you guys the cap situation below. So one thing I want to mention, the Falcons will have 9 draft picks in this draft coming up, including 5 in the top 100. So the Falcons definitely have some pieces that they can be able to get in the draft come this offseason. They come next month, actually. The draft is going to be a month and 5 days from now. But me personally, before I go to the comments, I feel that the Falcons need to go ahead and continue to blow this thing all the way up. Because at this point, go ahead and get off all your money right now. Matt's gone. He's still on the books for $40 million. Julio Jones was off this team last season. He's on the book for $15 million. We have a grand total of dead cap of $62 million. It's time to go ahead and get that money off the team. This is going to be done this year. Also, me personally, love Grady Jair. Been a huge fan since he got drafted from Clemson. He does not deserve to be a part of a rebuild because clearly this team is in rebuild mode. This team don't have a lot of pieces that you can say I'm building going forward. You have a Kyle Pitts. You have a AJ Terrell. You have a Chris Lindstrom. Those 3 are your young guys. Jake Matthews is one of your veterans. But when you look deep at this team, this Falcon roster is one of the most depleted rosters in the league. So it's going to be hard to keep a all-pro D tackle like a Grady Jair in Atlanta, and it's going to work. And it's not going to work, to be honest with you. Give that man the opportunity to go somewhere. Get off of Deion Jones' money any way, shape, form, or fashion that you possibly can. He does not need to be on this team at this point. He was horrible last season. Get off that money too. Let's go ahead and eat all the dead cap because Terry Fontenot had an interview this morning on YouTube. Don't know if you guys seen it. He said that they were just going to eat the cap this year and look forward to 2023. So that's the best thing for them to do. But let me go to the comments before I continue. Cuzzo, what's up? Hey, Quad, how you doing? She said Watson played us all the way to the day he went to another team. I think Cleveland, when with 230 comes out of that checkbook, I'm going to Cleveland also. Because Cleveland, with him just giving up a few picks, they're an immediate contender in the AFC this season. So that team is set up to succeed this year and a couple years down the road. And he gets 5 for 230. So definitely a good move for him. I hated it. It would have been interesting to see him here, but I think the Falcons also need to rebuild. What I did not want us to do was throw our whole future away for a quarterback. I would have liked Deshaun Watson. I have nothing against him. But at the end of the day, I think the Falcons have, when you look at our roster, there's not a position with the exception of a right guard and a tight end that we don't have a need in. We have needs everywhere. Darrell, what's up, bro? He said Matt should have left for the ring. Oh my God. Yes. This is self-explanatory. He should have left for the Super Bowl ring, unfortunately. I hope he does get an opportunity to get one in Indy possibly before his career is over. Quarter said, they did Baker wrong. Baker was kind of on the fence out there in Cleveland. I knew that was going to be a very toxic situation once it got to a certain point. She also said the Falcons still paying out of pocket. Yes, they are. They are still paying out of pocket right now. They're going to be paying out of pocket until next season. Amy, what's going on, sis? How you doing? JD said, I believe it's that they had more than one team wanted to trade for Matt Ryan for better compensation. I feel like Atlanta did Matt Ryan a favor. Yeah, I believe they did Matt Ryan a favor as well. Because to me, I think you could got more. I think they had better offers for Matt Ryan. But for a guy who was on a team, let's just be brutally honest about this thing. This Falcon team has been set up to fail since 2018. We totally bombed the draft in 2017. The draft what I'm talking about, Tat McKinley, Duke Riley, those guys, that draft was a bust. 2018, decent draft. But unfortunately, let's talk about the 2018 draft. We now have nobody left on the roster because FanDuel Ridley is suspended. So I don't count him on the roster right now. But Russell Gage when it got 3 years for $30 million with Tampa. Alua Khan when it got 4 years for $15 a year with Jacksonville. Well-deserved contracts. Both guys were playing solid for us last season. I would have loved to have them back, but for that type of money, they need to go get paid somewhere else because you don't want to sit here and put the Falcons in a rough spot. And that's what would have happened had you brought any of those guys back. Quarter said that's why they couldn't pay this. Yeah, they're broke. They're definitely broke. J said they are not competing. No, they are not competing this year. The Falcons very well could be maybe one of the Falcons, in my personal opinion, might have the second to third worst roster in the league going into 2022. And the draft hasn't happened yet, so anything can happen. But at the moment, the Falcons have one of the worst rosters in the league. KD, what's going on, bro? Tevin, what's up, bro? He said, I like this GM. It's ugly now, but he has a plan. Yes, he definitely has a plan. And one thing that I respect, he stated in his presser earlier today, he was not going to reach for a quarterback. He was not going to reach for a position. He wanted to build a team, not a particular position. And I think that's the problem that the Falcons did struggle with during the Thomas Dimitroff era. Although we won a lot of good games during that era, the problem is when you are bent on, okay, I'm going to address this position. I'm not going to build a team. We're going to just build this one position and it doesn't work out, then it just ruins your roster. Me personally, I would not sit here and bank on just giving a quarterback, on just taking a Malik Willis unless you're saying that you're going to come into the 2022 draft and say, we're going to address this side of the ball in 22 and this side of the ball in 23. That's the only way that can work. But the Falcons truly need to be balanced in how they draft this team because you need everything. There's nothing that we don't need on this roster at this point. You need to be looking towards that direction going forward. So I agree with what you said. It's ugly now, but as far as us going forward, that's the best option to do. JD said, if he says he's not looking for a quarterback this year, better change the draft order. Okay, so I tell you, in regards to that comment right there, he wasn't going to reach for a quarterback. He did mention that he will be looking into taking a quarterback at some point in the draft. He just wasn't going to reach if he didn't feel that need was a need at that point, which makes me feel that at number 8, he's not going to take a quarterback. He may take best player available because he definitely mentioned that in his stream, and I hate that I didn't cut the clip earlier, like I thought about doing, so I could have showed you guys. But let me go back to the comments. Hey, Shane, how you doing? JD said the problem is when we rebuild, fans in front office must be patient. Do not panic, fans, for 2023 if they are losing. This is a great comment right here because I want to make this clear right now. We will not be competing for a Super Bowl in 2022 or 2023. You got to give this team an opportunity to truly build this thing. They got to build this thing from scratch because what the Falcons haven't done, when you look at the remainder, I'm going to put it like this. When you look at the teams in this city, just going off topic, the Atlanta Braves just won the World Series. But the Braves 7 years ago ticked the fans off by blowing it up. They blew it up. I'm sure all you remember they traded away Hayward and Kimbrel and the Upton brothers. They blew that thing all the way up, built through the draft, and they built a squad to come back and win a championship years later. So it's going to take a process for sure. Same for the Atlanta Hawks, right? The Hawks are up and down this season right now. They are still in the playoff picture. But when you think about the Hawks were a middle of the pack team every year in and year out, making the playoffs. They blew that team up when they got a Trae Young. They've been building around it, and they were very successful last year, almost made it to the NBA Finals. You have to commit to a rebuild at some point, and that's the thing that the Falcons were not doing at any point during the Matt Ryan era because a lot of fans may have their ups and downs about Matt Ryan, but Matt Ryan was good enough to keep us in contention in 2 different eras, whether it was the Mike Smith era where the first 5 years they won, They just couldn't get over the hump of going to the Super Bowl. And then the Dan Quinn area, we went to the bowl, but they didn't sustain success. And that's the difference with the Falcons. That's the biggest problem with the Falcons. They did not sustain their success. When they had good teams, they didn't go address that one or two pieces to put them over the top. So it's a lot of layers that's not just named Matt Ryan. That was the reason why the Falcons could not win a bowl. And of course, 28-3 is self-explanatory. That's self-explanatory. Everyone has their issues with how that played out. But of course, everyone has their thoughts on that, is what I'm trying to say. Quarter saying we need a wide receiver because of Ridley. Yes, we do. We have the worst receiving group in the league. Because even bringing back Cordero Patterson, he is technically considered as a running back. He can catch the ball at the backfield, but he's considered as a running back in most people's eyes at the current moment. Our best receiver on the team right now is, unfortunately, we have Zacchaeus, Christian Blake. It's two other guys. I can't think of their name right now, but they're not. And Darby, excuse me. Darby's another guy that's on the team. But again, we have no talent at wide receiver. We don't have a surefire running back. Yes, we went and got Damien Williams, who you guys may remember from the Chiefs Super Bowl run. He had 100 yards in a Super Bowl against the 49ers. But again, he's coming off of he set out in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and he played in Chicago where he was forgotten about. So the Falcons are hugely depleted of talent. JD said, I would say the draft defense because this is a defensive draft. This draft is so crucial for the Falcons. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of pieces on defense. This is one of the reasons why, me personally, I wanted to do a lot of trading as far as moving the contracts that we have on the team right now and get as much draft capital this and next year to build this thing the right way. Because at this point, the Falcons need to rebuild this thing to take the next leap. Because at the current moment, they do not have the pieces that they need. They're going to take a couple of years to get this thing right. Nick said that dead cap is definitely going to mess you guys up. Yes, it will. The Falcons, matter of fact, I'm going to show you guys the dead cap situation that they are going through to get us on. Let me go to it. My bad, guys. Let me go. I just want to pull up the exact contract, the current salary cap for the Falcons. And so you guys can see the situation that we're kind of in, even with Matt Ryan off the team. So you can see what the Falcons are working with at this point. This is courtesy of sportstrack.com. The Atlanta, let me go full screen. Excuse me, everybody. Let me take this comment down. Give me a second. Okay. The Atlanta Falcons currently they are over the cap at the current moment. They only have $1 million left in cap, but they're over the cap. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I keep saying that they have $1 million left and they don't. They actually are broke. Nice way for me to put it. But again, going back to this, the Falcons have $152 million in active contracts, $62 million in dead cap. So $62 million of the Atlanta Falcons' current contracts are dead cap at this point. So moving on down the list, Grady Jair is up for a contract extension this season. He right now has the most cap, but he has a dead cap of $7 million. If the Falcons consider moving on from him this offseason, this regular season before it gets started. The Deion Jones contract is kind of hard to move this year because post June 1st, as you see, he has $18 million remaining of his contract. For Grady Jair, same thing for him. $7 million is going to stay the same. But as you see, these are the current contracts on the team right now. It's not a lot of big contracts on the roster at the moment because you don't really have anybody to work with. And then, of course, a couple of new guys there at the bottom of the roster. Casey Hayward, those guys don't count against the cap yet. Now, also, you got to consider that with your draft pool cap, that's $12 million that's put to the side for draft picks. So that's another thing that the Falcons are having to deal with. Now, to the dead cap. Just to give you guys, anybody that is not familiar with salary caps, the dead cap figures derived from the trade or release of a player from the active roster or practice squad. All of this count towards the team total. As you see, Matt Ryan's dead cap is $40,525,000. Julio Jones still counts for $15 million of cap space on this current Atlanta Falcon roster, despite the fact that he is not on this team. This is a part of the deal from last year in the trade they had. As you also see, Dante Fowler, Tyler Davis, and all those guys are on the books as well. So this is this unfortunate situation that the Falcons are in, which puts them at $62,097,104. That is 29% of the Atlanta Falcons 2022 cap that is tied into current contracts. So this is the issue that the Atlanta Falcons are running into right now, which is totally unfortunate, but that's just the bed that they made for themselves. So as you can see, this is what the unfortunate situation is. This is a total breakdown of it. At this moment, we do not have enough cap space. We're over the cap. So we'll see if they're going to make any more moves before the draft, but at the moment, we don't have any money. Now, everybody's been talking about the 2023 cap. Let me show this real quick. This is what the 23 cap is going to look like, although this is just 27 people that are listed actively. Now, Sports Track shows that the Falcons will have $81 million of cap space. However, this is them considering the Falcons giving Lindstrom and McGrary both club options because both of them are free agents coming into this year, and throwing in the Calvin Ridley money. I don't think Calvin Ridley is going to be on this team in 2023. So if you take those three out of the equation, that puts the Falcons at nearly $120 million of cap space. So again, the Falcons have a little bit to work with going into this. Matter of fact, let me remove this because I'm blocking the thing with my logo. Excuse me. The Falcons have some wiggle room in 2023. Again, they don't have a lot of money tied into this roster because a lot of those guys will be off the roster. Of course, as you see, the Falcons possibly may move on from Deion Jones in 2023. As you see, when I was showing you guys earlier, where Deion Jones is like $20 million towards the cap, he's $5 million dead cap next season. So if the Falcons don't want to work with him in 2022, after 22, he can get cut off the roster in 23. So look out for Deion Jones to be a cut for the Atlanta Falcons next offseason if he has a bad year. So this is the current status of the situation for the Falcons contracts. Let me go back to the main thing. Kyrie said that AJ will not play. AJ is still going to be under his rookie deal at year number 4, so he will be playing under that contract. And what's up, bro? He said, I thought it was $136 million. So with that being said, the Falcons that's the cap. That's the consideration with the club options being thrown into there. So that's what they're going off of right there. That's coming from the situation with the cap at the moment. But let me go back to these comments real quick. While in rebuild, what other players do you believe will be moved? I would move Grady. I would move Grady this year and move Deion next year. I would get off those contracts. I love Grady Jair. Don't get me wrong. I'm not on here saying that Grady Jair is a part of the reason why the Falcons struggled in 2021 or previous. He was the only one trying to get pressure at any point throughout the whole season. But I'm not trying to put big money into a defensive tackle when the Atlanta Falcons need everything. They don't need to do it. It's not smart. Nick said Matty Ice is taking the Colts to the playoffs. He better. That team is way too talented to not make the playoffs. Yes, the Titans are in that division, but I do not think that Tennessee team is better than the Colts with a Matt Ryan. Because if this team went to the playoffs with a Phillip Rivers who was about to retire, they're good enough to go to the playoffs with a Matt Ryan with a better O-line and a Jonathan Taylor. No reason they shouldn't make the playoffs. JD said James Cook might be the best fit. You make it get James Cook and the Michigan running back. To be honest with you, that's not a bad option either for the Falcons, but I think the Falcons can't reach. This is one of those situations where they do not need to reach. They need to go pursue what they've already had on the board at one point. They don't need to sit out here and try to take an extra leap to go for someone they want over a need. You get what I'm saying? We have a lot of holes on this roster that needs to be fixed. So I don't want us to go to a situation where we are stuck. I don't want it to happen. So that's going to be the situation for the Falcons that I'm going to be intrigued to see how that's going to play out. So we'll see what happens with that situation too. Let me go back down to the comments. Kyrie said, how does it feel knowing that your team has a 0% chance of making the playoffs? Well, they haven't made the playoffs in 4 years. So it is what it is. No, nothing else to put it. I'll just be on here going off on them after every loss. Nick said Deion Jones and Grady Jair get good picks for both, maybe a decent player too. That's really where I'm going with it. I want to get draft picks or maybe a solid young replacement. That's really where I want to go with this team at this point. Quarter said because they're paying for folks that do not. Yeah, we've been doing that since last season too. Definitely have. Bryce that was talking about the cap. I know. We're in a rough spot. We are in a definite rough spot. We truly are. Quentin said with the first pick of the team. I'm going to be honest with you. The Falcons are bad, but they're not going to be the number one pick. I promise you guys. The Falcons never do anything right. They may start off with a bad record and might win 4 or 5 games to take themselves out of being number one pick. So, not even going to go there. He said with the first. If we're picking number one back-to-back and we don't get this thing right, then we have a lot of problems. And then he said 2025. Oh, my God. Yikes, you got us being bad for 3 years in a row. I hope it's not that long. He also said, I'll take Tank for Bryce Young. Honestly, again, I don't know if they're going to be in a position to tank. So, I don't know. Kyrie said, look at Kyler and the others. No one really plays on that last year. That is true, too. But I'm intrigued to see where the Falcons will go with that as far as the last year or the 5th-year option. Catching up with these contracts right here. Excuse me, the comments right here. You said, what if we make the playoffs with Mariota? I don't see it. No disrespect to Marcus Mariota. I don't feel that Marcus Mariota can take this team to the playoffs. This team is so deficient of talent unless you're telling me we're going to go get a crazy amount of picks this year. Kyrie also said Bryce Young. I wouldn't be against it. I think we need to get another quarterback at some point. Tobias said, with rebuild now in place, what scheme would you implement on offense and defense? So basically, the Arthur Smith scheme is kind of a run-heavy offense. As we saw that last year, they were looking into doing that last season in regards to Mike Davis because Mike Davis was an absolute bust. Mike Davis was horrible for the Falcons. I thought he was going to be a sleeper. He was right, though. He slept his way into making this roster have one of the worst rushing attacks. We're still technically a West Coast offense that runs the ball a lot more. That's really where we are at this point. As far as the defense, Dean Pease run a 3-4. And I think that's the reason why you've seen a signing like a Lorenzo Carter. He went and signed for Lorenzo Carter, signed for those guys like a Casey Hayward, because you got guys on the team that fits the 3-4. Like I'll put it like this. The schemes aren't bad on both sides of the ball. We don't have talent. None. We don't have talent at all. So that's where the problem comes into play. Quentin said, well, Matt Ryan pull a Stafford, I would love it for him. I'd be happy for him because he should already have a ring right now. But we're going to leave that alone for another day. Jay, what's going on, bro? He said ATL to the Super Bowl in 2030. Man, I hope it don't take that long. That's a long time from now. Quentin said, will Arthur Smith survive his job? I doubt it. I say they give him 2 more years because you're coming into a rebuilding roster. You can't, I would hate for him to get fired when he's in the process of rebuilding a roster that was terrible already coming in. So I would hate for him to get fired, but I would never say that he wouldn't get fired. Bryson said, see y'all, man. Y'all see Bryce, y'all see him making the playoffs. Oh, Lord. Real season, what's up, bro? He said tank for Bryce Young, but have no idea the year Bryce will have. Just play football in this draft. Take best player available. Mark is a former Hall of Famer. Anything is possible. That's true. That is so true. It's hard to really scream and say that the Falcons need to tank because, again, if Mariota has a decent year, I can't see the Falcons stressing themselves on taking a quarterback that fast because he is still in his, if correct me if I'm wrong, he may be in his late 20s. So if he does work out, they may say, okay, let's just work with Mariota. This scheme may work. Bryson said, let's go, Marcus. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I don't have a Marcus Mariota just needs to stay healthy. The problem isn't that the guy can't play. He can play. He can't stay healthy. He took Tennessee to the playoffs. So it's not even that. He just needs to stay healthy. Kyrie said, if Atlanta makes the playoffs, I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that, all right? Just remember that. I'm going to hold you to that. And keep that noted because I'm going to come back to this stream and say, hey, bro, you remember. You said if the Falcons make the playoffs, you're going to pay for my ticket to the game. You're going to be with me, too, with a red and black jersey on or something. But I don't see it happening, so you ain't got to worry about that. Let's go to the next comment. Jay said, Mariota definitely taking us to the off. NFC really not that strong after these offseason. The NFC really isn't that strong. So that's the other thing that's a factor. Somebody's going to make the playoffs that don't deserve it. So who knows? You never know. Nate, this your cousin. What's up, Mello? What's going on, buddy? Let's continue with these comments. He said the Falcons are paid to lose to Tom Brady. Hey, you said it, not me. You said it, not me. He said, I love the Casey Hayward pickup. He'll see a lot of young. Yes, I like that because I want him to really continue to work with AJ Terrell. AJ Terrell had a good year, but that team was just bad. That team was just horrible. Let's see. Kyrie said, Arthur will survive for sure. He won 7 games. Yes. And that's the thing that I was talking. Me and you actually talked about that off air. He won 7 games with that bad roster last year. So with a roster that kind of fits him, who knows? I'm not saying that they're going to be a good team, but I think that he can get the best out of that group that fits more of his mold. Quentin said, does Tom Brady take this Falcons team further last year? I'm going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is this. You didn't have a receiver. FanDuel Ridley decided he didn't want to play because he had mental issues. And let me go ahead and go on record and say this. I have not done a stream since that news came out. I think it is a slap in the face of the Falcon organization to get on here and scream that you're having a mental health issue when people really go through mental health issues. And you get on there and you say that, and then you gamble for $36,000 on parlays. Just dumb. I hope he's never going to step onto a field in Atlanta again. Good luck somewhere else. Nick said the Falcons just trash, bro. Hey, man, listen. We're going through some hard times, man. We're going through some hard times. Leave us alone, man. Leave us alone. Brill said the screenshot. I appreciate that, bro. Definitely appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. He said, who are some hidden gems that the Falcons should go after in this draft? It depends on the position because the Falcons truly need everything. And unfortunately, I had a mock that I just did before this stream. I had to just pull up on my phone. Let me see. I just got to pull up on my phone. Oh, man, this sucks. Give me a second, guys. Because I actually screenshotted this. So I did a mock draft before I did this where I had us taking Trayvon Walker at 8, the out of UGA. I had us taking Desmond Wright out of Cincinnati at 43. I had us taking Quay Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia, at 58. He's going to be a sleeper. That's one of my sleepers. Kenneth Walker, the running back out of Michigan State. He's going to be a very solid running back in this league. Jalen Tobin out of South Alabama. Yeah, a lot of folks do not watch a lot of HBCU ball, but he is a baller. He's going to be solid whoever he goes to. Wendell Robertson, the receiver out of Kentucky, he was a game changer if you watch Kentucky football. Kobe Bryant out of Cincinnati, I think he's going to be a solid corner. You don't need to reach for a Sauce or a Derek Stingley. You need everything else. I also have us taking a Thomas Booker out of Stanford. He's a good, solid D lineman. And another HBCU guy, and Jatir Carter, the tackle out of Southern. So it's guys around the board that the Falcons could really look after. It depends on the position also of what we're going to look at that point in the draft. So stay with me on this. I'm going to talk about the Falcons, of course, getting into the draft. We're going to get a chance to touch on that. That's a great question. JD Self will survive his job. That's the thing of being patient. I don't expect Arthur to be on the hot seat until 2024 unless something goes completely wrong. That's the same way that I feel. That's the same way that I feel too. I don't think they're going to go and say Arthur Smith or Terry, you're on the hot seat for 2 more seasons because you're rebuilding. This roster sucks. And a shout out to my guys that are on here that play Madden with me. The Madden roster sucks. So if the Madden roster sucks, the real roster sucks. I don't know how that roster won 7 games last season. Good answer. He said coaching won 7 games. You're right. Me and you talked about this several times throughout last season. Mark, what's up, bro? He said the Falcons going to probably beat the Bucs this year 1 game. That would be so Falcon to do that. I don't see it, but that'd be so Falcon to do it. Of course, they would need Colin Kaepernick. Don't think he's going to play for nobody else in the league, unfortunately. Quentin said we're going to get blown out by the Saints. Good Lord, what we're going to do down 21 in the first quarter and all we got is picks. They have to be able to get offensive weapons to move it because Crab Legs has nothing out there. Michael Thomas has been MIA since he got his contract. And who else is the receivers in New Orleans? Nobody. You got Kamara. You got a defense. Who knows? Let me continue with the questions. He said, no Jordan Davis. I love Jordan Davis. I love Jordan Davis. However, I just don't see it. I don't see them doing it. Not gonna. If you do that, then that means you're keeping Grady. That's just the way I look at it. Shane, what's going on, bro? He said, what's the record for the Falcons this year? 5-12. That's my record for the Falcons. 5-12. I don't see this. I don't see much with this roster at the moment. But as we get a draft in, that may change. But at this moment, I don't see the Falcons winning a lot of games this year because that roster is totally depleted. Yeah. Oh man, we know this, Nick. He said, "Don't nobody want to play for the Atlanta Falcons." We know this, sir. We know this. Arlo said that Kamara's – yeah, Kamara is on the team. Kamara's still on the roster for a couple more years, to be honest. And he also said we're going to go 2-15. Yikes. Of course, said that. So we need to pick players from Bama and Georgia. We could get a couple of guys from there. I would love to. The Falcons hate drafting guys out of UGA, but I would love to do it. So that's the crazy thing about it. Kyrie said, like I said last year, Pitts could be first team All-Pro, but it was a bad pick last year. Should have got a quarterback. Everyone knew this class was awful. I don't disagree with that, but I will tell you this. You and I remember having this conversation last year. The Falcons should have went Micah Parsons. I know everybody was screaming they should have went quarterback. I wanted Micah Parsons. You needed a game changer on your defense. He fell to 11 to the Cowboys, and look at what happened to that team. They made the playoffs this year, and he's going to probably tear the league apart. When Kyle Pitts was not a immediate need, this time last year, you guys remember me being very upset about Kyle Pitts going at 4 because to me, he's a great talent. Great talent. Going to probably be one of the top 2 to 3 tight ends in the league for years to come. once, other guys like a Kelsey and a Kittle, they fade out and become older. However, this team truly needed to go get a game changer on defense last year. And that's what I hated we didn't do. They got to get it this year, though, because it's too many. Kyrie said tight end, but the tight end wasn't an answer. Yeah, I agree. I don't disagree with that at all. Kyle Pitts is an amazing tight end. He's an amazing player. He's going to be awesome in this for the Falcons. But, again, you didn't have receivers last year. We never knew that FanDuel Ridley was not going to be on the roster. We didn't know that. But let me go to some of these. I'm going to go to the mock real quick. So, CBS Sports, Ryan Wilson and Chris Trapasso has the Falcons taking safety Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame at 8. Josh Edwards has us taking Drake London at 8. I would be very heated if we go up there and take Drake London at 8. He's going to be a very good receiver in this league, but not him at 8. Pete Prisco has the Falcons taking Malik Willis out of Liberty. Kyle Stackpool has the Falcons taking Devin Lloyd, the linebacker out of Utah. I like Devin Lloyd, but I think 8 would be a reach. USA Today also has the Falcons taking Malik Willis at number 8. Mel Kiper from ESPN has the Falcons taking Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. Very solid game changing that receiver, but that's not what you need at number 8. No, sir, buddy. And last but not least, Walter Football has the Falcons taking Ike Ekwonu out of NC State. So those are the guys. Shane said the best quarterback in the draft, I think it's Malik Willis. I think it's Malik Willis. I think Malik Willis is going to be solid. I don't really care for this class in particular. I think Desmond Ridder is going to be decent, but unfortunately, I think he's going to be a couple years process. I don't think he's going to go ahead and be a solid guy going forward. Marlon, what's going on, bro? How you doing, man? Checking in with the content, keeping up. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. But yeah, I think that the best quarterback is going to be Malik Willis in this draft. I could be wrong. Let me put it like this. He's the best he's the best for week 1, 2022. It could change. That always changes as it goes on, but I wouldn't reach to go get him. Now, there are certain teams that can afford to take a chance on a Malik Willis, like a Carolina. Carolina has a lot of more pieces in place than we do. He may go early. He may go to Detroit. Shout out to my boy Antoine. He even mentioned him about going to Detroit at number 2 potentially. So I think Malik Willis is going to be the guy that you're going to be paying attention to going forward. But from this point, I see no more comments. That is my conclusion of talking about the Atlanta Falcons. State of the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to get back to doing my mock draft stream. We got delayed because of the Deshaun Watson trade. The next 2 teams I will discuss is going to be the Houston Texans and the New York Jets. So those fans need to check in. The next one will be, of course, we're going to go 2 by 2 by 2. We're going to get back to doing it on a regular basis. So possibly look out for the stream on Saturday. That could be the day I do the stream for the Jets and the Texans. But until next time, I appreciate everyone that tuned into this stream. I appreciate all you guys. We got a lot more to cover. It is going to be getting close to the draft. So until the next time, this has been All In with Nate. I appreciate all the support. You guys make the show, not me. I'm just here to talk. So again, you guys have a good night and go Falcons, I guess.